Hey, my friends, good evening. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Good evening, Cliff. Hey, Craig, how you doing, buddy? Randy, Ed, Uncle Johnny. How are you, buddy? This is Wednesday Night Live, also known as the Hump Day Show. So glad to have you along with us. Just kind of getting my bearings here, making sure we got everything good to go, and it appears that we do. Paul, good evening. Joe, Ed Bolanowski. Hello, Roger. Dan, nice to have you along with us. Hello, Jim, checking in from Tennessee. Joe says, good luck next week. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I'll be down in Ohio. Bow hunting for whitetails with Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters, my good friend Bill Piles. It is an amazing night. The day was wonderful. All right, back at you, Jerry. Jeff, good evening. Hey, Sal, you like the music? That's custom made for me. That is custom written for me for the Outdoor Magazine TV show. That was the close music for the Outdoor Magazine TV show. Dan, good evening. Paul, nice to have you along with us as well on this edition of Wednesday Night Live, as we talk about what's going on across primarily the great state of Michigan in the outdoors. Hunting and fishing, shooting and trapping. We'll talk about this weekend's radio show rundown. We'll talk about some other things coming up. We'll talk about an event that you need to put on your calendar right now, even though it's too early to make reservations. Jim, good evening. I almost said good morning, Jim. How are you, Steve? Thanks for joining me on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Oh, my gosh. I got to respond to a text. To my daughter, Shelby. Just send me a text. Anyway, how are you? The weather has changed, hasn't it? We got our first frost here at my house Monday morning. There was not frost on the grass, but the roofs had frost on them. John Paul, good evening. Hey, Vance, how you doing, buddy? You get a little break now, Vance, after bear season and elk season? You're probably farming hardcore right now still, too, aren't you? Hey, Ross, sorry I couldn't talk to you earlier, buddy. Captain Jim, nice to have you along with us. I'm really excited, though, Ross. Really excited for you, and hope that if it's supposed to happen, these plans that you and I were talking about will indeed happen. If things are supposed to happen, they will, right? I've been around long enough to know that. So anyway, it frosted here on the rooftops Monday morning. So from the time I heard the first cicada until I had the first frost, absolutely, Ross, it was 9 weeks. Jim, I didn't. Let me check my emails, Jim. Oh, there it is. Nice. Very nice. You want me to post that? I'd be happy to. And there we go. John's just leaving work. That whole work thing. You got to put in your time now, John, so you can take next week off. Good evening, Mike. How are you? The Michigan Outdoorsman. I will do that, Jim. Probably not now until tomorrow morning. So 9 weeks from the time I heard the first cicada till the first frost. What does that mean? Nothing. It's just something I've keeping track of for years and years. It's one of those old sayings. I originally heard it'll be 6 weeks from the time you hear the first cicada till the first frost. Well, no. And it was like 8 weeks. Well, maybe 8 to 10, usually 9-ish weeks. And that's what it was this year. Have I been out hunting? I've only made it out hunting opening evening, but I'm hunting tomorrow night. I wanted to get out earlier in this week, but I'm doubling up on shows. Since I'm gone next week, I had to record 2 shows this week, which means 2 radio shows, edit 2 podcasts, record 2 different podcasts, upload a bunch of promos and stuff. So the week before I leave town is really jammed up. But tomorrow night, I'm hunting. Regardless of what the weather is, regardless of the wind direction, I will find a stand tomorrow night to sit in. Now, the wind is supposed to switch to the northeast tomorrow, which is the absolute worst for the stand that I wanted to sit in. But we got a bunch of stands out there, so I can find a stand tomorrow evening to sit in. Mainly, what I want to do is get out there and sit in a tree stand and just make sure I got everything all set. Because in Ohio, for the most part, we'll be hunting in tree stands. And I just want to make sure I got all my gear together and I'm not forgetting something. Because what I don't want to do is get down there to Ohio, get up in a tree and go, oh, I forgot this. I don't want to do that. John says he's working the next 3, then off Sunday to head to Ohio. Scott says it's going to be a warm winter. Is that because of the cicadas? Hey, Brent, how are you doing? Mike Hampton says, Mike's Tire Sales. First time in a saddle tonight. Very comfortable so far. You got to be just about out of shooting light there, Mike. Not that I'm big brother here. Corey's headed to Missouri for a few days in the morning. Good luck to you tomorrow hunting as well in Ohio. Excellent. Good evening, Randy. Corey loves saddle hunting. The guys I know who do it love it. And, of course, John Eberhard is the guy who is Mr. Saddle Hunting here in Michigan. Ruben, how are things in Colorado? Thanks for joining. What is that, a big steelhead you got in your picture there? Mike Schaefer, good evening. Lisa says, hey, Mike, I got a wolf on our trail camera in Menominee County. And how do you feel like that about that, Lisa? Is that a surprise? Does it make you... are you mad about it, or is it something that you expect? Or is it cool? I mean, I think wolves are cool. I just think we have too many of them. I'm not one of those people that says kill them all. I think wolves are cool. Just got too many. Rob Sador, speaking of wolves, Rob Sador checking in from White River, Ontario, Canada, where they have lots of wolves, and they have a wolf hunting season, in fact. That's where I killed my wolf up there years ago with Pete Jones of Superior Bear Outfitters. These days, who is it that's running the wolf hunts? Help me out, Ross. I got a mental block. Daryl Godden's running the wolf hunts these days. Beautiful animals, very smart. They are. The wolf is the smartest animal I have ever hunted. Hey, Linda, how are you? Nope, you didn't miss anything. We're just getting started. Bruce, good evening. Bruce, good evening. Daryl. What did I say? Daryl Godden. What did I say? Anyway, it's Daryl. If the thing about, here's why I think we need a wolf hunt in Michigan. Because the wolves in Michigan, Rob says he's getting ready for them now. The wolves in Michigan are not used to being hunted, so they have no fear of man. They think they're at the top of the food chain because at this point they are. So they can be quite aggressive and no fear of man. If you go to Ontario, where the wolves are hunted, and you run into an animal up there, they're gone. If they see you, hear you, smell you, think you're around, they're gone. And our Michigan, Daryl Godden, and our Michigan wolves need to have that fear of man put in them, I think. Josh, good evening. How are you? Almost time for Ham for the Holidays. We will start Ham for the Holidays up. I can tell you right now when we're going to start it. We will start it up Wednesday, November 1st, day after Halloween. So that's 1, 2, 3 more weeks. We'll start Ham for the Holidays. Holidays. Man, things go by so fast. All right, so what else is on my list? And feel free, my friends, if you got a topic you want to bring up tonight, let's shoot the breeze about it. Bring it up. Let's talk about it. The weather. And I have a bunch of notes here because, like I say, I recorded 2 shows this week. Jerry, have a great time in Ohio next week. Is your radio show only available in Michigan? Pretty interested in this week's show. The radio show, Jerry, is only available on Michigan broadcast radio stations. The podcast version is available everywhere. Jim says we might not have a wolf hunt until a human gets attacked. I don't think we're that far off from that. So the deer are moving. Once the cold front came through, I noticed the deer on the property that we lease have really, they're up on their feet. They're moving. I mean, we had a 2.5-year-old buck walk through a food plot yesterday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. So nice. Very nice. And our trail camera is nice, these cellular trail cameras. Scott, good evening. We just got back from fishing with my son on his birthday. Didn't catch anything. Scott, is your son with you right now, and what is his name? And a chance to get to fish with him on his birthday is very cool. If he's there with you, Scott, give me his name. Good evening, Bernie. How are you? Mike says, do you think the wolf population affects the moose population in Michigan? I'm sure it does, but how bad? And I know I'm no biologist, Mike, but obviously it affects the wolf population or moose population, and obviously it affects the whitetail population. Wolves need to eat. So they're going to eat whatever's there, whether it's a moose. Look at Isle Royal. Look what they did to the moose population on Isle Royal. I've seen moose. I've seen wolves. Scott said the field behind the house is loaded with deer, and he's sitting here watching and listening to me. I think that's a pretty good night, Scott. Watching deer and listening to Avery. Could be worse. The interaction between, in the UP, they did a big predator-prey multi-year study that wrapped up. Let me get to Scott's. All right, Scott. His name is Tony. Can I replay this episode? Yes, you can, Tony. Yes, you can, Scott. Hey, Troy. It's Troy, not Tony. Hey, Troy. I hear it's your birthday today, and I hear you went fishing with your dad today. How cool is that? Happy birthday. I hope you had a great day. I hope the rest of your evening is great. And I hope the next time you and your dad go out, you catch a lot of fish. Pheasant season coming up soon. In fact, it's coming up here in the UP on the 10th. And, of course, the lower starts on the 20th. Hey, Joe Marion, guy who saved many lives over the years. Checking in from the deer blind. How is your deer population, Joe, on the west side of the state? Pheasant season is a topic for next week's show. I told you I recorded 2 shows this week. For example, the show I recorded Monday that airs this weekend. My first guest is Nick Carpenter. Now, Nick it might not be a name you know because he's never been on the show before. Nick is the new owner of Brenton USA AR-style hunting rifles. So that's pretty cool. How did that just get there? Did I do that? Huh. Oh, I can see who's liked it. Nice. Nick Carpenter joins me to talk about the challenges of building ARs for hunting in today's world. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News with a preview of their November issue. In hour number 2, Mike Horswell of Jay's Sporting Goods talks about processing your own venison. Mike is an absolute expert. He has great advice on how to cut up your own deer. Then Nick Green checks in live, of MUCC checks in live from the duck blind. In our third hour, Lance Valentine of Teaching Fishing talks about the tremendous fall walleye fishing on Lake Erie, and we wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. Scott says there's no such thing as pheasants in our old stomping grounds now, Mike. Isn't that sad? I cut my teeth hunting on pheasants. It was squirrels first, and then pheasants. Because as you know, Scott, there were so many around that I, as a kid, could go out with our English setter with a single-shot 20-gauge shotgun and miss 2 or 3 birds and still stumble into enough to bring home a bird or 2. They were everywhere. Hey, Rick, good evening. How are you? Randy saw 2 roosters on State Road between Pinconning and Omer. Joe Marion had lots of deer activity in September, but it slowed way down since the opener. I'm thinking they are where the acorns are dropping. My apple trees are loaded, so it's a matter of time. No, Joe, here's the reason you're not seeing deer. And I'm being facetious, sarcastic, and a smart aleck. So just, okay? Joe Marion, the reason you saw a lot of deer before the season and you're no longer seeing them is because of that damned youth hunt. That youth hunt turned the deer nocturnal. I hate that youth hunt, Joe. I hate the youth hunt. I think it's an evil, vile thing. Why let kids get out in the woods before we get a chance to? Why give a kid an opportunity to shoot a deer earlier than the season starts? Hate that youth hunt. For that exact reason, Joe. You were seeing deer, and then the youth hunt came along, and it turned the deer nocturnal. And I am joking. But I've heard that from people. Well, that youth hunt. Youth hunt. Youth hunt. Yeah. Tim, good evening. I did it. Hey, Linda. Tommy's also checking in from the deer stand. Ross, Ed. They killed all your big deer. Rick says they killed all of his big deer, too, the youth hunt did. Cliff says, you want to get a deer? Just go out and get one with your car. I got him, didn't I, Paul? Let's involve the next generation. Here's a thought. In a world when hunter numbers are dwindling, why wouldn't we do everything possible to get kids involved in hunting? If it means giving them an opportunity before the rest of us, oh well. If it means giving them an opportunity to hunt while it's still warm, oh well. If it means letting them go out there when the deer are still in their summer patterns, oh well. Would you rather just sit back, be an old grumpy curmudgeon, tell the kids they can't hunt until October, or better yet, November, because God knows we shouldn't have archery hunters in the woods anyway, right? The only true hunter, I'm going to have some fun here, okay? The only true hunter in Michigan is a gun hunter. Everybody else who goes out there early isn't a true hunter. Because if you were a true hunter, you would wait until that traditional November 15th opener. You would wait until it's cold. You would go out there with a 30-06. You wouldn't go out there with a stick and string. You wouldn't go out there with a crossbow. God forbid you go out there with a recurve. If you were a true Michigan hunter, you would go out there only with a gun. And everybody else who hunted before you is getting in the way of your hunt. And I hear that. I hear that from people. Isn't it amazing? Hey, Patrick, they're future voters. They're future hunters, and they're future voters. Ross says it's the acorns. Deer love them. Jerry says, yeah, the youth hunt gets blamed for a lot. It's an amazing chance to get our future out in the woods and experience the outdoors. Where'd you go, Joe? Joe says, I hear you. How is the Verona area for pheasants? Scott, I'm not being smart aleck or flip, but I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, here's a good Ross said, my favorite one is they're killing the bucks before they get to breed. Now, if it's a 1.5-year-old buck that they're killing off, maybe. If it's a 2.5 or 3.5-year-old buck or bigger, you don't think that buck might have bred before? Good evening, Tim. How are you? It says, let the kids hunt early. There are plenty of deer. I did have an interesting conversation with a guy via email the other day who disagreed with me on that one. He seemed like a very reasonable, rational guy, and it was a good conversation. But he says in his part of the state, there are very, very few deer. That's why he doesn't want the kids coming in there to get at them early. Bill says, we need to remember that it's all about the journey. I like to say the experience is the experience. It's not the harvest. It's not the kill. Harvest, the kill, the venison, the meat on the table, the fish on the table, that's just a bonus. Jerry says, easy, I'm that old. I think I'm older than you are. Bernie says, his first and only experience with wolves and moose was when he was bear hunting in White River, Ontario. That made the bear hunt so much more enjoyable. I was bear hunting in White River, Ontario on a bear bait, obviously. Had a pack of wolves fire up, howling I don't know how far away, pretty close. And I'm trying to think, it was either later on that night or the next night, I had a beautiful black wolf come into our bear bait. But it wasn't wolf season yet. Couldn't shoot him. I see you've been out, Ed. You got a hunting Sunday, $3, 3 small bucks, 3 does. When I was younger, we would see 15 does for every buck. And Ed, the guy that was I had that conversation with was up in your part of the state. Good point, Patrick. 6 fresh scrapes on the new piece in Hillsdale. They weren't there a week ago. Lots of smaller bucks on the move. And we're seeing it on our trail cameras. When I go out tomorrow, I'm going to get out there a little bit early, and if I can find any scrapes, I'm going to freshen those up. And if I can't find scrapes, I'm going to start some mock scrapes in areas where I know there were scrapes last year. Get those things going, and they're gonna open wide up here pretty soon. Linda, lots of deer around for everyone. Give the kids their hunt. It's the rest of us stomping around that changes the pattern. Some people don't like change. I don't like change, Cliff. I don't like change. But life is change. Joe says both of his kids took advantage of the youth hunt and it helped them get hooked. There's Daryl right there. Daryl, we were just talking about you and about wolf hunting in White River, Ontario, Canada. And I said, you're the guy. I didn't mention this, but Daryl's success rate is extremely high. You hear people going up to Wawa or whatever on a wolf hunt, and, 5 guys go up there and 1 guy gets a wolf. With Daryl, most of his hunters get a wolf. I don't want to put you on the spot here, Daryl, or promise anything, but Daryl has a very, very good success rate. I don't know if he has any openings right now, but he's on right now. You can message him through Facebook here. Daryl Godden from White River, Ontario. If you can't get in with him next year or this year, maybe next. But he's the man when it comes to wolf hunting, and Ross Elliott just verified that. James, conversation about youth hunt being does only. I don't have an opinion on that, but it's interesting to think about. I think it should be does only. James, I think the youth hunt should be does only for a couple of reasons. Number one, it would knock down the population of does, which is what the DNR wants to do. Now, it can only be allowed where there is a doe season, right? So I think it's a good idea to knock down that population. I also think it's a great idea to teach young hunters that a big old matriarchal doe is indeed a true trophy. A big old doe is far harder to kill than a stupid 1.5-year-old buck. So I think I would like to impress that on the kids' mindset. And the third one is it would take off some of the social of the youth hunt. If you took away that aspect of the youth hunt with people bitching about kids taking their big bucks, you take away a lot of the ammunition. People will still be against it. But anyway, James, I am all in favor of the youth hunt being does only. Thank you, Jeff. Hey, Mark. Oh, there he is. I had you there, Mark. I clicked the wrong button. Mark, I look forward to seeing you Sunday. Eric, good evening. How are you? Absolutely. Hunting when you were a kid. Jim says the buck he shot this evening had just freshened his scrape under a crabapple tree. Okay, here we go. Good evening, Jeff. Last year, his son, this is Jerry Ward, harvested a beautiful 7-point, 190 pounds dressed. That's a big deer. Start to finish, 45 minutes. This year, we spent the 3-day youth hunt out there. He passed a few small bucks. Monday night, he said, Dad, it was so nice to spend more time in the woods with you. That's a wonderful story, Jerry. Thank you. Scott said, I can't remember what you said. If I can replay it. Yes, you can, Scott. That's what I was trying to tell you. When this is done and when I end the live feed, you can go back and click on the video and actually scrub through the video. It's going to be at about the 15 to 18 minute mark, and that's just a guess. But yeah, you can replay it. Dave says he likes does only. Ross said he saw the wolves half hour after Daryl had him in the blind. Hello, Brian. How are you? Daryl says he might have a couple of openings. Please contact him if interested. Hey, Daryl, with that in mind, you want to do a radio show here in the next couple of weeks? Because I know we can fill those openings. I make myself a note. I'll give you a call. Daryl. I'm not doing a show next week because I'm in Ohio. Deer hunting. But the week after, which would be 25th. What do you think, Daryl? Good evening, Mr. Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer. Good point, Ed. I would think even in areas that don't normally have doe permits could allow youth hunt for does without much harm. That's a good point, Ed. Bernie, so many deer in the area that farmers are getting block permits. They slaughter hundreds of them, just left to rot because I've heard those stories, Bernie. I hope they're not true, but I've heard them, and they make me sick. You are more than welcome, Scott. Corey, I'm opposed to the youth hunt being does only. Truthfully, rather see it be bucks only. The season is so early, many fawns are still nursing. Daryl says should be able to do it. Rick, what are you taking to Ohio? Your crossbow or your longbow? Rick, I've never hunted with a longbow. I used to hunt with a recurve. These days I've put down the recurve because I don't shoot it enough. I've jumped over to my 10-point crossbow, and it is the crossbow I will be taking to Ohio. It's the crossbow I'll be hunting with tomorrow night. If it's going to be an archery season, I'm going to hunt with a crossbow these days. Dennis Beaner, good evening. How you doing, buddy? I forgot to tell James that I was talking to you. I'll see him certainly over the weekend because we're heading down south to Ohio. I'm going down. My son James is going down. My grandson Trent's going down. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, just because I have my crossbow doesn't mean I'm going to make a 60-yard shot. In fact, I don't want to shoot past 30 yards, which is about as far as I want to shoot my compound. And with my recurve, it was more like 15 yards. Oh, I just made a post here on the how long before we see ice on the bay. A long time. Let me find, here we go. Let me see if I can pull this up, post this link. Edit, copy, StreamYard, edit, paste. Okay, I just pasted this link. Linda, to answer Linda's question. Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice, Johnny. Topic to ask the DNR. Why haven't airbows become legal yet to use and why? They're not going to be, Dave. I can tell you this. There are two things I know for sure. Airbows are not going to be legal to hunt with in Michigan, and you will never see baiting for whitetails return in the near future. I just know that. Linda, what is the one thing you like most about the 10-point? I'm a bit hesitant going in that direction. The ones I picked up are heavy. They are heavy. But the reason I went with a 10-point, I had it nailed down to a 10-point Linda or a Raven because I wanted to be able to decock the bow. I didn't want to have to shoot the bow to unload it. I wanted to decock it. The Raven and the 10 points are both beautiful bows. The Raven, once you start to decock it, if the lever slips out of your hand, it keeps spinning and it could hurt. The 10-point, you can decock that thing, take your hand off the lever, and it'll stop. That's why I went with a 10-point. And I'm telling you what, they're not cheap. And then 5 months after I had it, I had to replace the string and cables. That was $140. Is what it is. Okay, you see this link right here? This is a link that MUCC sent me, and it's about a call to action. There has been a bill. Let me see if I can pull it up. New legislation dropped yesterday. I hate that term, dropped yesterday. This is something that the podcast industry is putting out there in the world. The podcast was dropped. Podcasts aren't dropped. Podcasts are uploaded. But anyway, they use the term dropped here, which I hate. New legislation dropped yesterday in the Michigan House that would put Michigan's $2.3 billion recreational angling industry at risk. House Bill 5108, sponsored by Representative Jason Morgan. Imagine this, a Democrat out of Ann Arbor, would allow for the state licensed commercial fishermen to take game fish, including lake trout, panfish, smallmouth, walleye, perch, and other game fish. So if you don't think that should happen, click on that link. Right now, we need to take more does to get a little control in the herd. Actually, time for bed. I'm with you, Ross. If I could get to bed tonight by 9 o'clock, I'd be a happy guy. All right, good night. Jason, future elder, how you doing, buddy? Am I getting the same angler quest next year or another one? I don't know. I have no idea at this point, Cliff. The companies, Apex Marine is changing. They're going through an evolution. I would hope that I have a role in that evolution. I would like to think that I've done a really good job for them. But it's all going to depend on what direction they go. So if I can, I will continue to work with Angler Quest. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful product. Yeah, decocking is a very nice feature. Rick, good point. Get a good shooting stick to offset the weight. I wouldn't. That's a very good point, Rick and Linda. I cannot hand hold a crossbow and get an accurate shot. I always put a crossbow on shooting sticks. Always. All right, Daryl, I'll look forward to it. Dave, good evening. How are you? Linda says she sent the email right away. She lives in Ann Arbor. House Bill 5108. Good evening, Mark. How are you? Jim says, I celebrate my harvest tonight. I'll be sharing some Maker's Mark with you. All right, excellent. Here we go. Bill Piles, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend. Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters, OhioBowHuntingOutfitters.com. I'll be seeing Bill on Sunday. His wife, Joan, son, Neil, the rest of the crew. Going down there Sunday, going to start hunting Monday. I probably will just hunt 3 days. John Callison's going to be down there with us. Mark Halston's going to be down there with us. Looking forward to it, Bill. I've said this many, many times. If you're looking for a wonderful, wonderful out-of-state hunt, Bill Piles is your guy. Bill says, oh, it's getting so good. I will bet you that when the cold front came through, it was like a switch going on, wasn't it, Bill? John Craves, Uncle Johnny said he hopes to go with us next year. So does Ryan. Johnny Bowler says, I'm sure going to miss that trip. Corey says, the bog dead shot. I have the bog, it's just hard to say, bog pod, and it's very nice, but it's so heavy. And Bill Piles has you back way out in the middle of nowhere, so I'm not sure I want to carry that 20-pound shooting stick with me. Is that link on my Facebook page? It is. Dave says, I'm doing use shooting sticks with a crossbow and rifle. Absolutely. Robert had to take care of the quail. Gigantic switch. Yeah, same thing here. Same thing here. Johnny said, if you're going, I'm in. Fred, we have a Pro Troll, great fishing machine. Hope to change his work for AQ. The Pro Troll it is the best fishing platform I have ever used. The best. That is a blanket statement. The Angler Quest Pro Troll is the finest trolling platform I have ever been blessed to use. And I'd like to be able to continue to do it. Now, they're not making the Pro Trolls anymore. That's part of the evolution. But they are making a Pro Family Fish, which is a very, very fishable boat. Ed says his dad called. He had a 10 point in the camera right in front of the stand at 7:07. Get the carbon one. Well, it's a little too late, Corey. I should have got the carbon one, but I didn't. Bill says, John Callison, I'll see you and your dad Ken soon. Dave says, go Lions. Robert said he saw scraps today, scraps, but I think he means scrapes. Jerry says, next year, if life doesn't get in the way, I'd love to just meet and talk to you, Mike, in Ohio, and everyone else. Sounds like such a great time. It is a great time. It's a wonderful time. We go down there with some great people. Again, the Piles family of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters. They treat us like family. They feed us very well. They put us on some excellent stands in big buck country. You've got a extremely realistic shot, a realistic chance at getting a shot at a very nice buck. There's no downside. There's no downside. Dave says he made his out of an adjustable camera tripod, PVC pipe, and a pool noodle for $6. I tried using the bog. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that. Bog pod. The ultralight head. I put that on a tripod because I thought the same thing, Dave. It was going to work out great, and the head didn't last. The head disintegrated. Ed says, great hunt, great people, great bucks. Bill says, don't get too excited. It's ramen noodles and bread this year. But that would be okay too. That'd be all right. I could survive on that. I'll bring a little. I could. No, not going to go there. Okay, so what else? We got a few more minutes left here. I want to give you your full 45 minutes tonight because there will not be a Wednesday Night Live next week. There will likely not be a Behind the Mic next Wednesday morning either, because at this point, the only reason I would not be in a stand Wednesday morning would be if I've already tagged out. However, if I'm on a stand and it is quiet, I might just sneak in an abbreviated Behind the Mic segment. Certainly, though, no Wednesday Night Live next Wednesday night. We wish you're going too, Johnny. Mark says Ed B. for Bolanowski was supposed to bring walleye. Maybe he could ship it down for us. I can probably bring some bear brats. I think I got enough. I can bring some bear brats. Let me take a look. If I can, I will bring down some bear brats. If I can, meaning I don't deplete our supply completely. Yeah, honey, we got no more bear brats because I took them all to deer camp. Craig Plowman, who's been sitting by quietly for a while, best thing Bill does is not hold it against us when we beat his Buckeyes. Bill is a stand-up guy. So I have to believe, Bill's a quality guy, stand-up guy, former military guy, just good guy. So I have to believe that Bill, in his heart of hearts, realizes what a slimy team and slimy coach and slimy program the Ohio State football program is. I think Bill would probably admit that. Linda's going to hijack us on the way through. Sneak peek. Nate, how are things down on Lake Erie? Starting to heat up yet, I bet? I'm waiting to see if Bill responds to that. Because, Bill being a quality guy, he can't help the fact that he lives in Ohio. And he can't help the fact that his team is made up of less than quality people and a coach. And their former coach. And I'll just leave it at that. Bill can't help that. Bill says, no. And Craig Plowman and I will get a special stand. And that stand will probably be a 2x2 plywood platform overlooking a rest area on the freeway. And if he did, I would deserve it because I just beat on him pretty bad right there. Nate, your Beaner's boy from Beaner 2 Charters with a bicycle seat. Nate, help me out. I know you. We've talked. You're down on Lake Erie, right? I interviewed you for an offshore tackle podcast, right? If not, I apologize, but that's the connection I'm making in my mind. Mark, who is the smartest man I know right now, says he loves the Ohio State Buckeyes, Bill. Mark's a pretty sharp dude, and he just proved it. The bean. Oh, Nate. Okay. All right, Nate. Thank you. You are Beaner's boy. You're Beaner's son from Beaner 2 Charters. Nate. Okay. So who am I thinking of then? And I apologize then, Nate, and thank you for straightening me out on that. Dennis Levine's son. Okay, thank you. I got to search through my memory here now. There's somebody with a very similar name that I had you confused. So, Nate, thank you for straightening me out on that. And it's nice to have you here tonight. I do appreciate it. John says if he has to say he loves the Buckeyes, he'll do it. I can't. I can't say it. I cannot say it. And if it means a rotten stand, sitting on a bike seat, overlooking a parking lot, so be it. Scott's wife is from Ohio. But you're a Youper, aren't you, Scott? No, we've had this conversation before. You live downstate, but you've got property in the UP, if I remember right. Somebody sent me a text. It's a deer over a scrape. Let's see it. Little guy making a scrape. It's that time. Come on. Say you love the Buckeyes. That is selling your soul to the devil. Yeah, Tim, that's him. He was primarily a walleye guy. Walleye charter out of, well, he was a walleye guy out of Linwood Beach. That's Beaner. That's Dennis Levine. He may have done some perch out of Pinconning too. I don't know that, but he was a walleye guy. All right, so to wrap things up, possibly no Behind the Mic segment next week. Definitely no Wednesday Night Live. Speaking of Wednesday Night Lives, it's too early to get your reservations, but put this on the calendar. Wednesday, December 6th. Wednesday, December 6th, we will be live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Bill said the count so far, 1 big buck down. I saw the picture. 1 wounded, 2 does, 1 miss. Those numbers are going to change. David, good evening. Your brother's on here too. On the other side. Thanks, Linda. All right, my friends, let me get something started here. And you know what it is I'm going to do here. All right, my name is Mike Avery. This is Wednesday Night Live. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you letting me be part of your night. Make sure you reach out to me, though. Love to hear from you. Start the timer. All right, Bill, we'll look forward to it. All right, my friends. It's almost here.